Okay, using Mr. Metal colour, these are the Buffables, and using them through an airbrush and hand painting. Okay, so we've just got an old fuel tank, which we'll do a half and half experiment with. All right, so all we're going to do is we're just going to load up with the colours. So first of all, use the dark iron. This is a pigment, all right, it's very, very heavy pigment. It means it will settle at the bottom, so it's going to need a really good shake to wake this up. And in fact, you are far better off to actually stir with a mixer. I've got one here, because you'll notice the thick, gooey stuff on the bottom like this, even after a stir. So make sure you thoroughly mix this up. Also, because obviously you're going to be putting it through an airbrush, you're going to have problems if that thick stuff gets down to the nozzle. It's not going to want to go very well. All right, so what you can do is grab a soft brush and give it a mix around with a soft brush. That way it'll break up all of that thick the actual pigment down in there, and give you a really nice finish. So we get most of that all off like that. Now you can obviously paint this by hand painting, and you do it sort of basically, you can go in and do it neat. But for this, we're just going to thin it just a touch, just to make it a little bit easier to go through an airbrush. So we've got our airbrush. We're just going to grab this lacquer thinners, just a few, probably 1/4 mil. That's all we're going to do, because we're not going to need tons of this. Goes in there like that. Then we're going to pick in, so it's around about 50-50 mix. Just goes in there like that. Then we'll come back with that original brush we had, and we give it a really nice mix. Now this goes for a long, long way. All right, so don't worry about thinking about, you know, being a bit of a waste and things, because it literally will go on forever. So air pressure, nice and low. All right, so we're just going to go with a nice low air pressure. Clean up here. Okay, so we just grab it, check our flow, looking pretty good, and then we're just going to give this a nice coat right the way over. Try and keep it as smooth and as even as you can. All right, and then we're just going to come back with it a quick second coat. Nice high air pressure. So it's looking like graphite all the way over, just like that. All right, so again, we'll just give that a couple of minutes just to dry. So we'll just dry it off with the airbrush, and we'll let that dry. So the reason it's got a nice texture on it is because of all that gorgeous pigment that will buff up. But you do need to let it dry onto there, just like that. So we'll do that one, and then what we'll do, we'll just switch out the airbrush, and we'll put some of this aluminium into it, and we'll do the same again. Okay, exactly the same again, a little bit of thinners, and then we've got the aluminium here as well. So we're just coming in here. A nice band. And want a nice, good, thick coat of this on. Again. Okay, so again, that's actually looking pretty flat and dull. So what we're going to do, we're going to let that dry off just for a little while, and then we're going to come back and we're going to buff all of this up. Okay, so this has been drying now for around about an hour, and actually it doesn't look too bad, but it's a bit patchy and all the rest of it. All right, and again, this front one just looks pretty much like a sort of metallic black, shall we say. All right, so you've got a couple of ways you can deal with this. First of all, you can use the paintbrush way, which is my preferred way of doing it. You take a soft bristle brush, and this one I use all the time for this type of work. And then literally all we're going to do is start to rub it and buff it. And because it's a buffable, the bristles will start to buff the surface and polish it and give it a really nice metallic metal look. Now, the more you buff it, the more metallic it will go. So it's starting to go metallic now. So we just run around the outside, and we'll give it with this one. So this bristle bristles on the brush. They're probably, you know, quite a soft bristle, but it works really, really well for this. So we get the majority of it off on here. You can probably see on my hand how it leaches out. Why? And this is one reason I don't like using it on for exteriors of models and things like that, because you end up just getting absolutely covered with this stuff. All right, so we just go round just like that. All right, then you can see it's getting quite shiny. So we've got a longer one here. These have got a lot more of a nice softer flicking action going right the way over it. And again, now you can start to see how it's actually turning, and you can buff this stuff right the way from basically a flat metallic to, as you can see here, something look like a really nice sort of steel color with just a couple of passes with this. And again, by airbrushing it on, you get a really nice smooth finish. But if you wanted to, like I've shown many times before, you can actually just come along and put it on with a brush. And this is the whole point of getting all that thick, gooey pigment off the bottom, because then it'll really start to pop and come to life. All right, so as you can see, it's got a real nice metallic metal look to it. Then obviously you can take, I'll get this one here, the cloth. So we've got the soft end here on the cloth, and we're just going to buff it. Again, you can see the pigment coming off, and it's really looking the part. And the more you buff this stuff and the more you polish it, the more nice and metal colour you'll get. It's got a real nice steel colour to that now. And again, exactly the same on the metallic, but as you can see by my hands, it is the gift that keeps giving. All right, so what we'll do is we'll just hold it down the end and we'll just buff this again with a cloth. But again, you could use a brush. We just do this for speed, and this is that aluminium look. And we'll just go over it, and again, the more you polish, the more you buff, the more this will turn to a very bright, shiny aluminium colour. And then again, so if we just do the entire thing now, got the most of it off. And there we go. That has your really nice metallic buffables from doing it. But again, it's a gift that keeps giving. You will get it on your hands. And the trouble is with this, and the only downside is, although this is beautiful as this is, you probably wouldn't want to actually put on anything such as a lacquer coat over the top, or an acrylic coat that will do it, because you'll double down this nice metal finish that we've achieved. But again, you can even get your fingers in this, and you can rub it with your fingers, and you can really, really polish this up to be incredibly metal-like. But remember, don't go too far, because you could actually rub straight through this stuff. But there we go. That is Buffable Metals.